Mhm. Yeah, I can see it now. Mm. Yeah, that's clearer.
Stand by.
Mm.
Carol, we will restart. We will come. We will go back out and come back in. Hello, Carol. Are you?
Cannot hear you.
Hello, Carol. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now. I see
No.
you were talking, but there
Yeah, no
was.
worries. Everyone that's out there, this is a wonderful, wonderful day for me personally. I don't know about Carol, but Carol Welter is a phenomenal award nominating and winning writer. And she has graced me with the ability to join us here in the Courageous Creativity Show. For those of you who don't know, my name is Winston Wilson. We've started the Courageous Creativity Show in order to allow creators, which we are all, the ability to talk and to share our stories. As we know, being a creative in this world, in this environment, comes with a decent amount of situations and things that we have to overcome. So, Carol, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for being part of this.
Thank you, Winston. I'm very happy to be here.
So, as I shared, Carol is a phenomenal writer. She's written many, many theater plays that have been all over the world. And it's been very exciting to be part of this. Her and I share a commonality. We're part of a group here in Atlanta called the Atlanta Dramatists. It's a phenomenal group of like minded creators who get together and talk about their stories and how do we help other creators be successful. And so I'm very thankful for this. So, Carol, you've done so many plays, but I really want to talk about a play that you have upcoming because it strikes an unbelievable chord with me. And I hope that it does with the audience. And this is called The Passion Shadows. So, it does Passion Shadows. So, before we do that, Carol, tell us a little bit about you, where you came, what your upbringing. As soon as they hear you talk, they'll be unbelievably curious. So, tell us a little bit about where you're from and tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so my parents are Jamaican, and I was raised in England, in the southeastern part of England, and that's where I first went to drama school and studied Shakespeare, and that was just the love that I had for being in that arena. I think has really shaped my life.
Wow. So your parents were born in Jamaica. You and I have that obviously in common.
Yeah.
And you grew up in England. So how did you come from England to Atlanta?
So, how I came from England to Atlanta, it was quite a journey. It was from England to Washington, D.C., to New Jersey, to Montclair, New Jersey, to Orlando, Florida. And here I am in Atlanta, Georgia. And that was, I've been here in this country. My journey started in 1977. That's when I first landed. And so here am I, 2025 in Atlanta, and I've been here since 2012.
So you took a circuitous route to get here, and we are all thankful for that. We are all thankful for that. So tell us a little bit about Passion Shadows, because I think the audience, when you hear the name, a lot of things get conjured in people's brains. So tell us a little bit about the story here.
So, Pass in Shadows is a story that I initially tried to originate in the American South. But then once I engaged a dramaturge, Adai Moon, and he sat down and picked my brain like a therapist for about 4 hours. And he said to me, "This really isn't an American play, Carol. It's an English play. It's a play about the Windrush people
Mm,
who went to England, like your parents did,
yeah.
and had children like you, and everything that happened." So, Passing Shadows is a story of a young Black girl with Jamaican parents who had passed on at the time, and it's she and her sister. And she fell in love with a young white English boy. They were 14 years old at the time. She got pregnant at age 16 and didn't tell him and took off to Scotland and gave the baby to her sister. And now the play begins 20 some years later, and
Mm,
she's meeting her daughter as an adult for the first time. Her sister has raised her daughter in
wow.
the play as passing, as being white.
All right, let's leave it there. We want the audience to make sure that they get there's a whole lot that happens there after that.
She's been raised as white all of her life at the time she meets her mother.
Yeah, let's leave it there because all of you who are out there, you have got to be there on. Tell us the dates again. It's going to be at the Seven Stages Theater, but tell everyone here the dates of the performance.
Yes, so it's the 7th, which is a Friday evening at 7 o'clock. And then the 8th, Saturday at 7 o'clock. And then on Sunday at 3 o'clock, the 9th, we have the matinee performance with a talkback.
That's amazing. The actors that you've chosen for this, tell us a little bit about them.
Well, the actors that I have chosen, for the most part, are people that I know. I've either known them from the Clayton State Theater Department, or I've directed them, or through Atlanta dramatists. And they really are all perfect for the role. I've seen them on stage, or I've worked with them on stage, and it's just been, I think I have the perfect cast. I really do.
Yeah, yes, I've encountered them, and they are phenomenal, phenomenal young people. A lot of times you've been around casts, and it takes a minute for someone to grasp what you're saying. No, not these young people. They know and their ability to grasp the moment and the importance of this play. And from my perspective, for those of you who are listening to us, plays like this are so important these days, especially in lieu of all of the things that swirl around us. We've got so many forces at play when it comes to our attention and our focus on our humanity. And this particular story helps us to understand that our humanity is intertwined with each other and that we are all here and we all have a spiritual goal that goes beyond our day to day tangible monetary goals. And this play just touches my heart. My parents, Carol and I both share this. My grandparents, they were around during the World War II time. And, one thing that this play is set in 1949-ish area, right after World War II. And like Carol mentioned, it's after the devastating that happened with Britain. So everyone who knows your history books, you know that Britain was really devastated through World War II. And so all of these people from the Caribbean came to help there and to create new lives. And what a phenomenal story, Carol. It just really is. It just really, really is. Did you have anything else you wanted to share? Because I have some things that's on my mind and I really want to get to and talk to you about.
Well, go ahead and tell me what's on your mind.
There's this thing that stands out to me that I think that's so important that I usually talk about on the Courageous Creativity Show for those of you out there. And when you think about the spark of courage that you have personally, without you don't have to share any particular details what's going on in your life. All I know is that every single person I've ever had on this show has something which has been an impediment to them being creative or to them to being a writer or an actor, whatever their calling is. What is the thing that keeps your spark of courage when you've gone through your most difficult times?
I think for me, it's gratitude that keeps me going. It's really easy, I think, at times to feel sorry for yourself. And but then there's so much more to be grateful for. And I just am grateful for who I am. I'm 70 years old and I'm able to do all of this. And I mean, how cool is that? And that's what really keeps me going.
That is amazing. Yeah, every number one, the fact that you're 70 is challenging for me and for others to understand. Because, when you have an energy and a spark about what you love, your age becomes less of a thing.
Mhm. Yes.
You interact with people who were I had a chance to talk to someone the other day that was born in 2002. And my mind just went to my as soon as the person said, and they said it with confidence because when that was when they were born. But then I was doing the math in my head, and when I was born, which started with a 1 and a 9, I was like, "Whoa,
Yeah.
is time elapsed so quickly?"
And 1955 was a long time ago for me.
I was like, "Gosh, time has elapsed so unbelievably quickly." And I don't know. This is a joy I have in life. I don't know how you feel about this, but sometimes I know people of my age, they become bitter because they see a young person like this and they go, "Oh, well, I didn't get what I need to get done. So that means that this young person is usurping whatever I'm trying to do." I don't feel that way. I
No,
feel like there's a lot to learn from this person who was born in 2002 than there is. What do you think about that?
yeah. Well, every day, we have a new opportunity.
Mhm.
And it's a new day, and we have a new opportunity, and we can capitalize on what happened yesterday, the day before, the year before, the years before, and just take those lessons and take them and run with it and make today a better day. And tomorrow will even be better,
That's for
you
sure.
know?
That's for sure. I ask this question of all of the guests that come on, and it's really about your creative space. And everyone has somewhat of a different answer because we're all different people. And I
Mhm.
think the audience would be curious about your creative sanctuary, if you will. Like is there a mode? Is there a movement? Are there tools that you use when you're saying I'm going to begin to write? Tell us about your creative sanctuary and process.
Well, my space begins at nighttime in a dream space. And during the day, I may have seen a billboard, or I may have been at a traffic light, or I saw someone walking. I'm a voyeur. And so I watch people's body language, and then I find myself dreaming about them. And I build stories. So it begins in bed. And then where it continues, I'm a gardener. So, I mean, I go out and I love to get my hands in the soil. That I always say there's nothing like good, clean dirt.
Mm.
And,
By
you
the
know,
way, you shared a melon with me recently, and my family loved this melon that you gave to
oh,
me.
good,
It
good,
was
good.
fantastic.
So the good, clean dirt, getting my hands in the soil, then the ideas from what I saw the day before and go into bed and then dreaming about it. And then I take my sketch pad, I take the notepad or a sketch pad, I begin to write, I begin to draw diagrams and diagram the story out, little pieces of it. I always write in longhand. And I start to speak the dialogue out loud, the scenery out loud. And then I go to bed. When I go to bed again, it comes to me again in dreams. And by the time I've had that second or third dream space, I sit. I sit in meditation. I sit and visualize where I want the story to go. And then I write.
And you
Yeah.
said you write in longhand, and you
Yeah.
obviously translate that at some point.
Yes, yes. I write everything in longhand before I go to my software on my computer and begin to type out the scenes, but I have it in longhand. And of course, I will develop it further while I'm typing, but my outline and the basic story is all in longhand. Little drawings, little sketches. You'll see them all over my office that I have. And yeah, but having that dream space, having time out in nature, if I can't work in the garden, just to go for a walk. If I can walk in the woods, even better. And so that type of energy really feeds me. Yeah.
Well, I was watching some videos recently about how we human beings, and I know I'm 1,000% guilty of this, are becoming less and less connected with nature,
Hmm.
and a lot of this results itself in some of the things that ails us that comes about because sometimes we're not connected to nature.
Right. There's actually something that's called plant blindness. There are people who just don't see nature. It's not on their radar. They'd be walking along the street. They can walk past a tree or grass or whatever. It would not be on their radar. They don't see it. And I think the world that we live in, with so much concrete and so much technology around us, and we're glued to our phones, all the time, that we don't see the nature. But it's
Yeah,
lovely to see the lay down on your back and look at the clouds. There are so many stories there. And
right.
maybe I'm just a romantic slob.
Yeah. That's such an example, and it was a tough time. So if you remember back at the beginning of the pandemic time, right around that March, April, May of 2020, where everything was shut down for the most part. And I decided I was going to go out and walk, right? And everyone was afraid to be around everyone. They thought that the thing was floating in the air. But I decided to get out and walk in my neighborhood. And I heard sounds I don't think I recognized before. I saw creatures that I was like birds and so forth. My attention was more attuned than it has ever been. There was no cars driving by. There
Hmm.
was no far off sound of something binging or sirens or anything. It was just the creatures that was outside.
Yeah.
It was such a wonderful thing. I literally said to myself, I didn't know that those kind of birds existed. Or those kind of birds were still around. It wasn't great that we were doing a pandemic, but it was a lesson, I think.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. To just the stillness that it created.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was real. You're right. There's such real stillness. I went out in my patio and I just listened for a long period of times. And that's when I learned that meditation, which people have been trying to extol to me for a long period of time, I was like, meditation, whatever. But it's become part of my life, like yours. It's
Hmm.
interesting.
Hmm. Hmm.
Wh-
Yeah.
when you think about this superpower that you and I and everyone who's listening to us have, it's really around resilience. Because whenever you're listening to this, you might be listening to us on the date that we're recording to this. You might be listening to us a week later, a year later, whenever that is. there's something on in the world, and we have been more hyper sensitive to everything because it's not like 20, 30 years ago or even 10 years ago. We
Mm-hmm.
literally can see what's going on the planet Earth at any given time, all the time. And I think that has a psychological effect
Mm-hmm.
on us. So what do you think about this concept of resilience through all of the stuff that's happening these days?
Resilience is important. Um, for me, the process of aging, um, and with aging comes some memory loss. In my case, breast cancer, loss of hearing, friends in my generation dying, my parents' generation, most of them are gone. And I remember feeling, I went through a period where I felt lost and lonely. But how I pulled in my resilience was something that I learned some time ago, a while back in my life, probably 30, 40 years ago. I think it was my therapist. But I remember the words in my head saying, don't get sad, get mad.
Mm.
And don't get sad, get mad. So when that voice comes tapping on my shoulder, who do you think you are? You're too old for that. You have cancer. You're a woman. You're a Black woman. You don't have enough money. I turn around and say, that's a lie. Sometimes I'll even go far as saying, get the fuck away from me. That's a lie. That's not true. I said, I can do this. I'm not too old. I'm not too poor. Yeah, I may have cancer. You just watch me. Nobody is going to take me down unless I let them. And at this stage in my life, I'm not going to let them.
You know, thank you so much, Carol. Years ago, and when I talked about my own diagnosis, I had that same moment that you just had, where I had this moment of real, it's like everything that was ever bottled up in my life
Mm-hmm.
came out in one moment. And I just let it all flow out. It was like a
Mm-hmm.
backpack that I was carrying. So
Mm-hmm.
when the doctor says you have MS, I was like, all right, let me get rid of this. I used some of the colorful language you just used. I said, let me get rid of this backpack. And then I realized that the word MS means what it means. But to me, it meant multiple superpowers.
Mm-hmm.
It meant that if I
Mm-hmm.
want to write something, if I want to take care of someone, if I
Mm-hmm.
want to teach something, I can do it all. Every
Mm-hmm.
single moment and every single day is the minute to do that. This is such a phenomenal introspective discussion, Carol. It really is. But let's talk again. Let's go back to passion shadows. Let's go back to the because for those of you out there, you probably think, oh, this is a real tough subject, a really tough subject. And it is. But
Mm-hmm.
there are moments of real fun and revelry associated with this story. So tell us a little bit about that.
So with passing shadows, I didn't realize how much of the story was about me and my growing up. And if you had said that a year ago, I would say, no, that's not true. That's not true. I have nothing to do with that. But we do write from our experience. And earlier on, you mentioned resilience, and I mean, I've taken master's class, random classes here and there, and when I think of it in the wide scheme of things, it was not by accident. And I had some great teachers, great professors. Um, Avery Williams at Morehouse College, who teaches film. I've taken classes with him, and Adai Moon, who's wonderful. Chantel Thrash at Clayton State. Derek Van Meter, great professor. Kirill Sherniman. So, in terms of resilience, what happens is you begin to find your tribe. And you talked about casting earlier and the group. that's all part of my tribe. You're part of my tribe. So you find your tribe, and these creative ideas begin to just ricochet. And because you have a tribe around you, that gives you resilience.
Yeah.
Well, as I was making the story of Casting Shadows, the character of Ethel, who's this very strong woman who could fight and wasn't going to give up. I mean, I was a little girl, and being a Jamaican, having a Jamaican father, he would say, "You little but you talawa." And what does talawa mean? It means you're strong.
Yes.
It means you're fearless. And it was that resilience. It was that. So in Passing Shadows, when I introduced the character of Ethel, Ethel brought in that whole concept of talawa. And so in Passing Shadows, I wanted the characters, first and foremost, the women, to have talawa.
Yeah.
Anita May, Ethel, Nelda, they would have to, even if they never had it at first, their end story, the end game was talawa. And yeah, so that's why I find the story so empowering, because
Yeah.
I realize my daddy, who said that to me, "You little but you talawa." I mean, when those kids in school were teasing me and going, "Blackie, Blackie, Blackie, Wugs go home, Wugs go home," telling me how my hair was spongy or telling me this. All right, yeah, I have nappy hair. That's the hair God gave me. So what? I don't have to be worried about that. And he taught me how to fight. I mean, physically fist fight. I would say, "Dad, they're bigger than me." It doesn't matter. He said, "You kick them, bite them, hit them with your skipping rope, whatever you have to do, but don't lay down and cry." And
Hold on.
because I had many times when I would lay down and cry. And he wasn't having it. And, I thought he was mean at first, but he was kind of like a drill sergeant. And so, yeah, so that is what I have brought about in Passing Shadows. And that's the takeaway I want for people.
Yeah.
The takeaway I want is that we all have talawa if we allow ourselves.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Wow. We all have talawa. I tell
Yeah.
you, it was you remind me about how much our parents teach us about things. I was in the 5th grade or something, and I got teased a lot I grew up in a black neighborhood, but I got teased for other reasons. Short, I was pudgy, whatever they were teasing me for. So after school, in school I went to, there was always this circle of someone's gonna have a fight at the end of the day. So it was my day to have a fight with this guy who was much bigger than I, who I don't even remember the reasons why he wanted to have a fight with me. All I know is when everyone gets in a circle, like in a ring to do the fight, I didn't even wait for him to do something. I just hit him and knocked him down and hit him several times. He was must be twice as big as I was. I don't think I ever had a fight after that. And so then I go home. I say, "Oh, this so I feel exhausted. I feel so I go home, and this is after school, and my dad's car is there. I was like, "Oh my gosh, my dad is home early." I was like, "What's going on?" So I go inside the house, and he looks at me and said, "Why you so rough up? What's going on with you?" And then I tell him, I said, "I had to fight this guy. I had to hit him. I had to fight." And my dad looked at me. You think that your dad is going to give you a berate you or give you a hard time. And he gave me the biggest hug in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and
And
then
it's so interesting how those experiences shape us, because now the irony is that I work with children and I teach them alternatives to fighting.
yeah.
So, because there's a lot of bullying that goes on in the school. And so I create little dramas, little 3-minute dramas where they're is some fighting or some, your ma, some ugliness going around on, and I say, what other choices do you have? I'm not asking you to just take it, but how can you advocate for yourself
Yeah.
and diffuse this situation?
You make such a great point because I
Yes.
thought about afterward that fella that I had a fight with, his life was changed a little bit from that fight. He
Mm-hmm.
wasn't the same guy. And I don't know if he got teased or not, but his same level of whatever it was, vigor or bravado or whatever it was, he
Mm-hmm.
wasn't changed at all. I mean, he was changed massively. Years later, I had a chance to go by his house because in our town, like you can go to everybody's town in where I grew up in New York. I mean, their house. I had a chance to go by his house, and go through the door. He wasn't living there at the time, and it was so dilapidated. And I was saying to myself, he has his own stuff going on, this young man. He's probably going from with a whole lot of stuff going on at home. And refuse, he thought he's like he could bully Winston. And so I had a fight with him. It didn't help. But I say this to say, like, when you're having these altercations, and the great thing about you diffusing them is that you don't know what's going on the other side of the person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Even though they're bullying you, you don't know what's going on with them, why they think
Mm-hmm.
bullying is an appropriate thing to do. You just don't know.
Right. That's right.
You just don't know what's going on with them.
Oftentimes the bully is scared.
That's right.
Yeah, they are. And I think with what brought tears to my eyes after a year of working with the children and teaching them alternatives to bullying. A little boy said to me, Miss Welter, anger is a choice.
He's right.
Yeah, he said,
Mhm.
anger is a choice. And I wanted to cry. And there's a place and a time for anger, there's a place and a time to fight, but it's knowing when it is appropriate to do so.
Yeah. I've relegated my anger. It took me a long time to get to this.
Mm-hmm.
But when I see something that is hurting other people significantly, I've chosen that as that's the time that I probably can share some anger because somebody's doing something to hurt somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's not about what they're doing to me. I need to be able to just water off the a duck's back, whatever they call it. I need to continue on, even if it's hurtful. I gotta let it go. But if I see them hurting somebody else, that changes my demeanor. That changes my posture, and
Mm-hmm.
especially how level of. I don't mean hurt like, hey, you said something bad to somebody. I mean like really hurting somebody in some
Mm-hmm.
material way. That changes the way I think about it because that young man is right. Anger is a choice, and we can use it appropriately and
Mm-hmm.
or not appropriately. And the thing I love about Past and Shadows is that sometimes when you see stories, or even when you go to theater, there's this tendency to make things over almost like soap opera-ish, or like
Mm-hmm.
let's try to get a bang out of this. Well, let's try to get a bang. Let's see if anyone can knock somebody out. Let's see if someone can brandish a weapon. Or some other kind of thing in order to create kind of in my opinion, a external thing to the audience. What I love about this story is that there's a couple of enticing incidents that happens, but there's also really people going through a journey like you just described.
Mm-hmm.
Every single character. If I go to a story and there's 4 characters or 5 characters, and character number 5, nothing happens to character number 5 from page 1 to page 39. And so why was he or she around? What were they doing? Every single one of these characters has a role to play. And that's one of the things I love about theater is that theater to me is a window into our humanity in a
Mm-hmm.
unique way. What do you think about that comment?
Yeah, absolutely. Being in theater, um, I think one of the things that helped me in my early theater days had a wonderful instructor, and his name was Brea Murray. He's since passed away, but you could look up Brea Murray. He was actually Abraham Murray,
Mm.
but he didn't want anybody to know he was Jewish, so he went by Graham. And we were having like an improvisational class. And he would whisper in your ear and tell you to go up on stage. So he whispered in my ear, and what he whispered, he said, "You have just bought your wedding dress."
Wow.
And so I went up on the stage. Winston, I was feeling it. I was feeling the wedding dress. I was happy. But all I did was walk around the stage and smile. I didn't do anything. I had the wedding dress. I could visualize the wedding dress. I could feel it on my skin. I could feel myself going down the aisle wearing the wedding dress, but all I did was walk around the stage and smile. So after about probably a few minutes, I don't know how long it was, I was just basking in this wonderful moment. He said, "Get the hell off of the stage."
Wow.
Then he turned to the rest of the class and he said, "Did anybody here know that Carol just bought her wedding dress?" Of course, not a single soul knew that I just bought my wedding dress. I knew that I just bought my wedding dress, but none of them knew. And what that lesson to me as a writer and an actor is that the audience must know what you're thinking. They must know your character's intention. And this is executed through body language, through the delivery of lines, through your voice, through your tactics. You can't just have this feeling inside because
That's right.
they don't know that. And as embarrassing as that moment was, it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Wow.
I thank Graham Murray to this day. And I still have his books, How to Direct a Play. And every time I direct a play, I tend to go through it.
That's
It's
awesome.
kind of dog eared. I mean, this book is over 60 years old, you know,
Wow.
and for me, it would be over 50 years old at the time he wrote the book. And so, yeah, um, that is what has given me resilience as a director, as a writer, and I think has made me halfway decent.
That's really wonderful. Yeah, it really is. Yeah, I'm on like a crusade to get people to understand that if they have discounted theater for whatever reason, they
Mm,
should come back to theater. It's not just a place to see and hear great stories, but there's this shared experience that happens when you go to see a theater production. It's a different thing than when you go to see a movie and we're all sitting in a room. Sometimes it happens, you see people share the movie for whatever reason, but a lot of times it's people watching the screen together. In a theater production, and you get to see the
mhm,
cast and they're really up close to it, it's like you are there with them. It's a different kind of thing. And
mhm,
you're in my personal view is that whomever comes to see the show, like when they come to see Passing Shadows in November, you will be irrecoverably changed on
mhm,
some level. I'm not saying you're gonna take over the world, but you're gonna feel different coming out of the show.
mhm, mhm.
You just are. And I'm on that crusade, Carol. It's like because and it's interesting because I've heard that Gen Z are coming back to the theater even more so than people in our age groups,
Yeah,
and that's very encouraging.
yeah, yeah.
It's very encouraging. So tell us a little bit about how, if people want to know and learn more about you, what are some of the best ways they can do that?
Well, of course, they can go to my website, and learn about me and send me an email, give me a call. I'm old school, old school. We do Facebook and that kind of a thing. So, so yeah. Um,
Isn't that funny that we call old school Facebook?
yeah, yeah. Old school is Facebook. Um, Somebody was talking about the other day that she met somebody on MySpace.
Oh,
And
really?
I went, "Oh my God." I
They still
remember
exist?
and how she met this guy on MySpace, and I said, "I forgot about that. That was long before Facebook."
That's so awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, they can. I am old school, but I'm very much one of these people. We have a saying in America that we oftentimes don't really mean, and we say, "Let's do lunch," just
Mhm.
like that. You meet somebody and you go, "Let's do lunch," but lunch never happens.
Mm.
When I say let's do lunch, I mean let's do lunch. You
Which
know,
is so appropriate, yes.
yeah, let's do lunch. We're either going to do lunch or we'll have coffee or we're going to have dinner or we're going to go out for drinks, but we're going to meet up. And so, with me being old school, I mean, this forum that we're on now is nice, but it's technologically advanced, and I love it. And it became very necessary, especially during COVID and since that time. But there's something to be said about meeting somebody face to face in person, sitting down. I heard you talk about breaking bread. That's important.
Yeah.
And just sitting down and, tell me about yourself and sharing an experience with them. And so that's how I like to be contacted that way. And I know that's a bit of a luxury, but hey, if I say, let's do lunch, or you say to me, let's do lunch, or, can I take you out for coffee or something? Yeah, I'm there. I'm on it. Come on,
Mm.
let's go. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's how I like to get to know people.
That's so
Yeah.
awesome. I'm gonna take what I said earlier to one step further. When I said when you go to a theater show, you are changed. I think that every time you go and get coffee with somebody, you are changed.
Yeah.
So remind the audience again about Passion Shadows as we close up today. Like when is it and where is it? Say it again for us.
So Passing Shadows is in November, the first weekend in November, November 7th. It's at Seven Stages Theatre, which is in Little Five Points. And that Friday night show that opens is at 7 o'clock, Saturday night show, same place, same times at Seven Stages. And then on Sunday, it's a 3 o'clock show with a talkback. I will say though, today is the 11th, tomorrow is the 12th. So our early bird specials will end tomorrow evening at midnight. And then on the 13th, we'll be charging full price for the tickets, which is $25. Right now, it's only $19. So if you want to get in on the early bird, go ahead to caroldwelter.com. When you get there, click on stage and you'll see how you can buy a ticket. If you would like to give a donation, in many ways, putting together any kind of show is a labor of love. And it's not just being able to go out there and do it. There are costumes, there are sets, there's rental of theater space, there's rental of rehearsal space, there's all of these different components. We have to give some gratuity to the cast and to the crew. And so before you know it, you're into thousands of dollars, but it's worth it, especially for this show, because of the message in it. So if you'd like to give a donation, there is a link there where you can give a donation. Any amount is welcome. And I do look forward to seeing the house full, sharing time with you. If you invite me for coffee or a drink, I'll be glad to go with you. And our life will be so much more enriched.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. That's going to be really, really wonderful. So, Carol, I am creating an invitation for you to return to the show. So I am hopeful as we get closer to the date of the show, and perhaps we can have the entire cast or members of the cast participate as well.
That would be lovely. That would be really lovely. I think it would be so nice to hear the show from their perspective
Yeah,
because, I've written the show, but they will see other things in it that I never saw at
yeah,
the time. So I think it would be really, really nice to hear from the cast. Yeah.
It's one thing for us to share things from our perspective, but we are in different generations.
Yes.
And for them, it's when they hear about it, it's not just like for us, it's a 20 or 30 years removed from when we were born. For
Right.
them, a lot of times it's like real history, like the
Yes,
time that we're talking about.
absolutely. And you know, I can pay it forward with everything that I have, but they're even going to pay it forward further with what they bring to it. I will bring all of the experiences as a writer director. I'm not going to sugarcoat things. I'm going to let them give them positive criticism, not to tell them where they're good, help them to stretch themselves, help them to build authentic characters. Um, and I try to do it in the writing. And I know you, as a director, will do all of those things as well. But then what always surprises me is when they come back with something and they say, well, this is how I see it. And I go, yeah,
Let's try it. That's
yeah,
my
let's
that's
try
that's my
it.
that's my favorite word as a director. Like,
Yeah,
let's
yeah,
try it.
yeah, yeah. And
Because you and
because
I you and
immediately
I
now you've got something more.
That's right. You and I have both been actors, and we probably had directors who didn't let us try things that
True.
we thought were
Hmm.
something that could enhance the story. But we have to trust the actors a lot of times.
Hmm.
And you have to trust them. And you mentioned it, and you threw it out there, and I'm so thankful to you and to God, quite frankly, that you chose me to be the director of this. It's just,
I'm thankful. I'm thankful to you as well.
yeah,
And I think it's no accident that our paths crossed.
yes,
Um,
for those of you who didn't know,
we're in.
Carol was a dramaturg on my play last year, and she did
Mhm.
such a phenomenal job with that. The cast and a lot of people who came, they still remember those moments that you helped us with to get clarity on. So it was just really great.
Mhm.
It just really was great.
Yeah.
And you were about to say something about paths crossed, so if I ran over you, forgive me. Please continue with that. Mm.
Yeah, I'm saying, it's not by accident that our paths crossed. Um, and I think when it comes down to, as I said earlier, gratitude, every single moment we can be grateful for. You meet somebody and you say, there's a reason for that. There's a reason. I may not know what it is now, but I'll know what it is later on. And so here our paths cross. I was your dramaturge. We've shared back and forth experiences. Now you're my director. And
Yeah.
here I am on your show. Yeah, it's all in the cards.
You're so right. I was talking to someone recently, and they were asking me about my background, and I told them that my mom never said this, but my mom had difficulty conceiving when she wanted to conceive, to the point where people told her that she should not,
Mm.
way back when. And every day, uh, I think about that. I was like, I'm so glad that she kept going. She had resilience because I wouldn't be having this conversation with you if my mom didn't have resilience.
And
But
here you are.
that's right. She did
Here
not.
you are. Yeah, it was definitely meant to be.
That's exactly right. So for those of you out there, when you have moments of stress, etc., you have been created to create.
Hmm.
You whatever that is for you. You have not just been created to be here and to wallow and to walk through your journey of life. You've been here to create something beautiful and bountiful for
Yep.
this world.
Yeah.
So
Don't
please
get sad,
continue.
get mad.
That's right. That's right. Don't get sad, get mad. That that's how your life is. And so please, when you see that moment, like, oh man, this play is not going to work. Oh, I don't know if I can continue to be an actor. Oh, I don't know. I don't want to do anything else. I don't want to finish this painting. Whatever that might be for you, you have been put here to do something that creates more abundance on the earth.
Hmm.
So please go forward. Carol, thank you so much. I appreciate you joining the Courageous Creativity Show. If any one of you wish to join, please let us know. We would love to have you.